Salut, mine comrades. I wanted to show off a bit of this game called The Shrouded Isle that I've been playing a lot of. Semi-recently, they released an expansion pack, a free expansion pack called Sunken Sins. So we're going to play around a bit. Shrouded Isle is a game where you are the head of a fanatical cult on an isolated isle that practices periodic human sacrifice. So the game is about balancing the virtues of your populace. I'm going to say balancing the opinion of the major leading families, the most influential people of the village, and also pleasing your god by giving him sinners. The best synopsis is provided by the opening movie. So... the new season, and we have a letter. A light has been seen in Chesa Isofka's window long after sleeping hours have begun. So we enforce curfews, that's wonderful. Accused of harboring one who reads forbidden texts, and Chesa is full of fervor. So within the game, there are 5 virtues that you want to promote amongst your general populace. And each of the 5 characters, each of the 5 families have a number of characters making them up. And you have to select one from each family to help you during the season with various different tasks. And depending on what traits they have, they'll either help promote or actually cause a decline in some of the virtues among your population. The game is all about shifting values and getting them all to line up nicely. So Chesa here, being full of fervor, when we use her, she'll increase our fervor, which we actually kind of need. Now you can see each one says satisfied or neutral above them. They all have a reputation, opinion of you, of how well you think you're doing. If you let it fall too far, then they'll rebel, and you'll lose the game. Let's look into this. We can inspect a room, which will encourage obedience. Informer, so they may investigate. We can leave it to her house to investigate on their own grounds, which they might appreciate. I imagine they'll like this. Or we can punish theirs, or waste my time with frivolous complaints, improving discipline. I find that it's good to increase your relations, and selecting that, move them up to zealous. Now, what points? So, depending on the level of satisfaction that they have, you'll get things called inquiry points. So, we'll start by beginning an inquiry on you. And we learned that she's gluttonous. The amount of inquiry points is dictated by how much the others like you. In previous versions, before Sunken Sins, some systems worked differently, and you would only get 2 points for getting them up to zealous. But zealous and satisfied seems to do the same thing nowadays, so I'm not really sure of the implications of their reputations, on the positive end at least. There are a few achievements associated with maxing your relations with one house, which actually is a bit more difficult than it sounds, but I've already unlocked all of those. So the first thing we want to do is find a cardinal sinner. So we're going to look at everybody's sins. And these are all minor sinners. You can tell because they say -10 and not something more aggressive. I'm going to turn that down a bit. It's just a tad too well. This guy knows too much. We want to promote ignorance because presumably people start asking questions that'll cause us problems we don't want. Every time I use one of these inquiries, you can see it's actually damaging our relations very slightly with the house. So you want to pick and choose, and I am not looking out. I tried recording this once, didn't really do much with it, so having trouble getting my head straight. But the important bit about that is, every time I try to record this game, I start just sucking. The game is, I don't want to say it relies on your luck, it relies on you making very good, educated guesses, and being smart in the decision making you make, the decisions you make with the information you're given. Okay, so we found Ladislas Cadwell, who is a pervert. So we're going to appoint him as the advisor for this house, which is really bad because they're the house in charge of discipline. I'll explain what that means later, but he's going to be our sacrifice. I generally find that once you've identified a cardinal sinner, it's better to just go for positive traits. Positive traits do not cost as much to unlock in reputation as the negative ones. And I find it's better to clear up all the question marks for reasons we may get to later, depending whether or not I'll be able to cover the sunken sin stuff. So here's an obedience. You can promote obedience, so actually no, yes. As I said, you want to clear out all the question marks. So if I have someone who I see they have 2 negative effects, I'll usually put them in for reasons I'll get to later once again. So penitence, you're a penitent. We actually, because of how damaging he is to discipline, we're probably going to want to appoint people who promote discipline. Let's see, and none of them do that. You're full of fervor, so we'll take you. And then the kidneys. Demas. Okay, so we're ready to actually start with the season. So assigning a worker, each house is associated with one of the virtues. Iosifaka, I butchered that completely, is in charge of fervor. They'll build monuments and they'll raise your fervor every time you use them. However, let's look at Cadwell. They're in charge of discipline. His sin actually lowers discipline, so he's going to nullify the effect of his house. So every time you select a character and then begin the tick, it's going to process all of the gains and all of the losses you get depending on the traits of the people you've chosen. Now, so in addition to applying everything there, houses become more satisfied the more you rely on their counsel, and they'll also become dissatisfied if you tend to favor certain houses. The longer you go without applying their advisor, the more dissatisfied they will become. Each of these other houses is going to lose one when we apply him. All of these effects become diluted the more advisors you assign to a given season. So he's currently doing a full -30 and a +10, but if we add this guy, he'll give 5 penitence as opposed to 10, and he'll start giving 5 discipline, and we won't take as big of a hit on our discipline. Now, so, for starters, we're definitely going to take him. For another thing I'm going to show you, I'll promote ignorance and fervor just to get us started. And we'll begin in the month. So, there's the house activity of burning books. There's the virtue activity, which is whatever promotion we got from his virtue. And then there's the vice. And we saw before that we didn't have this unlocked. Putting people to do activities will sometimes reveal what vices and virtues they have. It'll tell you that they've damaged this virtue a certain way, so you know that's what they're doing. However, you don't know how bad it is until you actually go in and actually look at it with this system. However, I don't want to piss off Kegney. Again, the inquiries, whether you do them outside of season or in season, will cause reputation damage. So we'll move on to her. We didn't unlock anything, which I kind of determined. Next, the Cadwell. We found out that he's penitent. However, before we sacrifice him, we want to know exactly what he does, and that's actually really bad. That is a major virtue that he has to go along with his major vice. So that's actually going to really hurt us. complaining about the snow melted, the village rots, some manner of filth creeps in, making people sick. Bathe them, encourage discipline, or Efferson don't like this. I could use a bonus to discipline, but I don't need to worry about that right now. I certainly don't need to worry about penitence. I think I'll just take the rep. That moved them up to satisfied. So, we're going to assign him one more time. However, that's way too massive of a hit on us. You can see here, it is right on the line. 23 is the minimum before it goes under. There are consequences to going under that we'll get to later. That is going to be a minus 15 plus 5, so a minus 10 altogether. We can do that just fine. And we want to boost our penitence for, again, reasons I'll get to when we get to it. And, wow, you hurt our fervor by, like, a lot. Because you're a coward. That's really annoying because we need to boost our fervor, but unluckily enough, the person we've assigned to work on fervor is damaging it to a certain extent. Take you, you, and you. You'll zero our fervor, won't you? No matter what. You'll take it down by 7, and I'll only be able to boost it. I don't want to sacrifice her until I know everything about her, so we'll take the hit on fervor this season, and we'll kill the pervert. Let's see. I don't want to take any more hits to discipline. However, I can nullify some of those hits with our traits here. Maybe. It might not be as good as the diluted effect of this. Let's see. Minus 15 plus 5, which will bring it down by 10. That's not enough. It might be, but I'm not going to risk it. I'll see if I can unlock some more traits. And he's undisciplined, which hurt us even more. But these guys are disciplined, so they'll help us to get that back a bit, and you're unrepentant. So we learned some more traits, that's good. And the houses are all a bit more happier. Now for the sacrifice. Now, when we kill someone, for one thing, they'll be a little bit annoyed with us, whatever house of the person we killed them. For the major vice, we will gain whatever it is he was hurting. Villagers will be inspired to greater discipline through the purging of a major sinner. However, we also have a major virtue. So whatever virtue that gave a bonus to is going to take a pretty big hit because it's major. You'll sometimes look out and get minor ones, but if you sacrifice someone without learning what their virtue is, it'll leave the people, I'm going to say disillusioned. They won't know what to think. And that'll cause them to, if you haven't unlocked anything, lose faith in whatever house the person belonged to. Like, he's part of Cadwell, so you would lose discipline. Or if you've discovered a bit of it, you'll just automatically lose the max, I think, for whatever virtue it is. So this is really bad, but he's the only major sinner that we've found. So we're going to go with him and take the hit on fervor. Oh, we also get +5 relations with all the other house to soften the blow of the massive relation hit here. And that's that. So as I explained, we lost a bit of penitence. We gained back the discipline by about +15, which pushed us back over the edge, which is why I wasn't worried about going into the negative. Cadwell grudgingly submits and mourns. We still lose -30, which is bad, but there's no way to avoid it. -30 is better than -50 or even 100 you'll sometimes get. And the other houses gain slight bit of approval. Now our demon god speaks to us. He wants us to Of course. I don't know if the game's like programmed to do that or if it's just pure shit luck. But like I have noticed that every time I go into the negative, Chernobog's all like, "Hey, I see you're lacking here. I want you to do that one." And it's actually really difficult to get something back up by that much. Like, if Penitence was at minus 15, I could get that back up no problem over the 23. But over 50, that's a different story. Also, House Cadwell is dissatisfied. We'll have to, like, rely on their cooperation a bit. Let's read the letter first and see where we're at. Matron Kegney, the head of the Kegney household, which I know because of how much I've played this game, slew of massive black creatures washed ashore and soon died. They are rubbery to the touch and smell of salted fish, especially their wide, fibrous mouths. What, so like leeches? We can push them back into the ocean, or we'll encourage fervor, because we really need fervor. Oh, I guess we feasted. So, we already know that there's a major sinner among this house, so we're gonna figure out what her virtue is. She's stoic. That's a minor virtue that won't help us, and she'll be the scapegoat. However, we need to boost fervor. You'll help, maybe. You'll help a lot, my friend. I'll trust her. I do want to keep unlocking these other virtues. Excuse me. Cadwell's not too happy with us, so we only get 1 point. You're ignorant. Nobody here does fervor. I'll point you, learn a bit more about you. Hopefully you'll do fervor. Anyone here with fervor? Singer. I'm gonna bet you're gonna be more worse than... But actually, you only hurt disobedience, which we can afford to take a hit. But if things change... Like, I'm worried we'll get, like, a major sinner of disobedience, which will zero out disobedience, and if we appoint her... she's going to cause a lowering of obedience. And this house's responsibility is disobedient. The traits come in 3 levels, virtues and vices are always worse, so they go minus 10, minus 20, and minus 30. So it's a guaranteed she's going to nullify the effect of her house, and we won't be able to raise obedience again if we get into a situation where we need to. So I'll rely on the singer for now. Oh, he wanted us to find the artist, and I didn't pay attention to whether it was a girl or a boy. That does actually matter. I've noticed that it lines up. If he says her, you will want to find a girl artist. Sometimes you end up with duplicates, but there's enough traits where it doesn't happen often. Anyway, so, yeah, I need to figure out which one of these people is ignorant, is lacking in ignorance, and that one will be the artist. Let's see. You know too much, but you're disciplined. I'll worry about the artist later. Pleasing Chernobog will cause this to flip again, and then you'll get another mission from him. And I guess it applies to the score later. I don't know. You're full of fervor, my friend. Just keep helping us with that. I think we're good with this setup. Now why did I do all that? Cadwell's dissatisfied, so we're going to be using you a lot. Ah, right, because we're going to kill her. We're going to appoint her, but, she doesn't have fervor. Which we need. Let's see, how do I want to get this started? We already know yours. We need to get your reputation up. And aside from that, we just need to increase fervor drastically. I would go with you, but, like, you're going to hurt us too badly. I don't know if we got a warning at the beginning. When one of your virtues drops, you'll get a warning about that virtue. Sometimes it doesn't pop, especially when Chernobog points you. He normally gives you an extra season to, like, get this stuff together. Chernobog is a benevolent god. Sort of. He won't screw you over totally. It's the people within the town that do that. Anyhow, so if you get a warning, you have to fix that virtue by the next season or the game will end. you can increase that virtue at the expense of zeroing another, and the game won't end immediately. You'll just push off horrible things until later. I think this is a good setup. We did not learn our vice. I'm okay with that. Kegney's reasonably satisfied with us, not as much as he, so whatever. And Blackborn. I really need to know what you're doing to me, man. And you're disobedient. That's fine. A little bit of extra penitence doesn't help, and we can afford to lose obedience. What do you want? Great flocks of pale-breasted swallows arrive and pass through as part of the Great Migration. The bats killed them. I'm familiar with a lot of these events. Let's see. We need fervor. Sorry, Blackborn. That'll do it. We actually don't need any more fervor. But we do need a satisfied Cadwell, so we'll rely solely on them. It'll hurt our relations with everyone else, but it'll get them back in the green. Fucking idiot. Wow, you really hurt us. Because you're a cynic. Hey, see what I was talking about? Good thing I didn't point that other person, huh? You'll also encourage fervor, so we can actually afford to put you on, which will bring it down by a certain amount. Get the sadist on here, and it'll actually go up, but it's red. Ah. Ha. Egg. Fine. Wow. Not only did you reverse whatever healing you were doing, so she's a kleptomaniac. I should have seen that coming, honestly. I don't know. I'll take a pretty huge hit on fervor, and that won't even put us back in the... Okay, so it's gotta be you. Heal our fervor, don't bring us in the red. We have to get obedience back up by next season. Oh, I didn't touch on it. If you sacrifice a person from the same house twice in a row, like, if you sacrifice 2 Cadwells twice in a row, they'll notice and they will immediately rebel. Okay. Criminals and rebels talk openly of rebellion. I must enforce obedience. Contagions. Okay, so let's see if we can find one. We're running out of time, so... But I do kind of wanted to show you off the contagions. So, Sunken Sins introduced the tower and contagions. Contagions will replace a person's virtue slot when they're sick. And if you don't know somebody's virtue, you won't be able to see if they have a contagion. And then when you go to reveal that virtue, it'll show, oh hey, this person's been acting strangely lately, and you need to get that under control. To do that, you stick them in a vault, and then you examine them if you don't know what the contagion is, and then you purify them if you do. Let me read this letter. Has been seen, stolen. Yeah, I know she's a kleptomaniac. You can interrogate her yourself, and she might admit it, but I already found that out last season. Blackborn will not like this. Blackborn will not like this. What? I guess I'll do you. Oh, House Kegney approves. What? You said Blackborn. Whatever. Usually I go with the middle option, but as I said, I already knew what she was doing. So, like I said, we're running out of time. I'll just show off Sunken Sins. Figure out what her virtue is. I meant to hit this. So, you can spend an inquiry point to learn what sort of sickness ails them. I find it's better in the earlier game, which we are very much still in, to just keep researching other virtues to find the contagions. But you can also examine them, and that will also reveal it, but it will take an entire season. So when you figure out what's wrong with them, you purify them, and they go down in the water for 3 months. Yeah. So I think that'll do it for this little introduction to the Shrouded Isle. Thank you for joining me. Sayonara.